he's doing and what he's building is awesome. Hmm.
I agree. No, I really, and he's, wow, it's working though, right? Because it's getting
Oh
huge.
yeah.
How
Oh
did
yeah. I mean,
how did you get into you? So you write code, right?
yes.
Yeah, because I see on the Instagram, it at least looks like you write code. I think I'm pulling from my memory here, but I think I've seen some React code. I'm not sure. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm like a JavaScript developer. I
Mm-hmm.
say full stack because it sounds cooler. But for the most part, I would do like JavaScript on the front end and then Node on the back end, which is essentially JavaScript. But yeah, so the company I just left, I was doing React Native. I built out their mobile app for them for about 9 months. And my husband's company, we build SaaS applications or SaaS products
Mm-hmm.
are specifically targeting SaaS companies. And the majority of what we use is React. And like we can pretty much do like we could figure out how to do anything, but we usually offer React.
Are you building web apps for them or?
Yeah, I mean I have built web apps. I mean currently right now with my position, I am doing a little different approach to like I'm doing like inbound sales or inbound marketing, I guess is what you would call it. And I have a background in marketing, and that's how I like got into programming. And so the goal is to create really good content
Mm-hmm.
and teach people how the development process works and how you can like build cool things. And then I'm actually going to be building like products, Chrome extensions, free tools as a part of like, lead generation, like how to get people actually to utilize us.
Well,
That
that's
makes
really
sense.
neat. Yeah, so it's great that you are working in the sales pipeline in marketing, and but you also
Mhm.
have an understanding of what it takes to build the product.
Yeah, it comes in handy a lot. So I started off in marketing about 4 years ago, and I worked at a mobile software development company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I
Mm-hmm.
helped run like a really large mobile conference. And in doing that, I did like everything from logistics to getting sponsors, getting speakers, um, like planning everything. And then the only thing I really couldn't do was build the mobile app for the actual event. And so that's what sparked my interest into development. And I started doing HTML, JavaScript, and worked really closely with the CSIO there. And he was like, just if you're going to do it, jump all in. And so that's kind of what I did.
Wow. So you just jumped right in and you just taught yourself some programming? Did you use any sort of education or did you rely on your husband or how did you get your knowledge?
I mean, all of that, but I went to Full Sail.
Oh,
So
very cool.
yep, I moved down to Florida like right away and just started going to classes there and utilized every moment I could being there because the people there are very well, like, they're there to help you. And if you utilize it, it'll do a lot for you, kind of
Hmm.
like most things.
Right.
And then I was there, and then I got an internship pretty quickly while I was there. And I interned for about 9 months before I graduated, and I was writing production code for this company. And then they hired me like right out of graduation. So I was programming there for about a year after ish.
That's like in your Instagram profile, it says you hustle harder than Jay-Z. I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. Because it sounds like you definitely hustle. You're over there doing some conference stuff. You're learning. You're like, all right, I want some information. You run down to Florida. You go to Full Sail. You're like, all right, give me a job now. Now you got a job. You're this full stack, but not really JavaScript engineer, right? And I mean, any of the engineers, they should have some understanding of the full stack, right? But
Oh, for sure.
now
I mean,
you're,
I'm like, yeah.
nope, you can keep going.
Oh, like at my first job, I did a lot of PHP. And the very first project I was on was like a C sharp project. So it's like I feel comfortable if I were like given any type of project. Like it's not necessarily the language or the framework. It's understanding how to problem solve correctly and how to problem solve in the best way to figure out the best solution for that particular problem. Does that make sense?
Oh, that definitely makes sense. And then there's some principles that, completely transcend the language that are great for every language too.
And then and and there's people out there that it's like it comes to the point where programming is actually like a craft and an art form, and that's what it was like for when I was at the startup, because I lived, eat, and breathe that application for 9 months, and so it was really, I was actually like really thankful to get out, like to take a breath for a little bit, which is what I'm doing now.
And now you're taking a breath with your learning to dive deeper into the growth side of things.
Yeah, and then still, yeah, I'm still utilizing my engineering and stuff because I still do stuff on the side, and in the process of like mapping out actual applications that I can build for our company that we can actually, you like have other companies utilize, whether that's for free or whatever.
Oh yeah, so some free utility style apps that will help promote the business.
Yep, exactly.
And
Yep.
what's the name of the company?
Built to create.
Built to Create. And
Yep.
who's involved with that?
It is my husband, Josh,
Mm-hmm.
and then his brother. So and we're all engineers. And so
Interesting.
yeah, and we are in the process of looking to hire like a senior level developer as well. And we just recently actually did hire a sales guy.
That's super important to a business, right? That's
It
like how
it
how you
is it is
yeah.
well, like what we've been doing so far, it's worked out pretty well. Is like by word of mouth and being well connected in the community. And the company that I left is actually a client of ours. Um,
Well, that works
so
out.
yeah. So it's all about, it's like kind of like, if you be nice to people and you always present them with your best self and your best work, you don't really have anything to worry about, because hopefully in the future, um, you'll be able to either like reach out to them for work or referrals or case studies or anything like that. Just kind of like our mantra at our company is just, we want everybody to win. So whether that's somebody that like we got reached out to help build some Unity games for the Super Bowl, and Jeremy, the other developer, he is a Unity developer, but it was just the timeline was too short, and so we weren't able to do it. But um, what Josh did was he referred the guy to several Unity developers in our area to, still help, you know, that company.
Well, that's very, very interesting. So they're looking for Unity developers for the Super
Mm-hmm.
Bowl? Did I hear that
Yeah.
right?
So yeah. Yep. So
You want
like
to
I guess there's
elaborate? I'm curious.
I don't know exactly what it's going to be for, but there's going to be like I probably should be saying this, but I think there's going to be like some company maybe using these games for promotion or something along the lines.
Cool.
But yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to take on the project just because it was too large and too last minute.
Right.
So it's always good to know your boundaries and when to say no to people, which is huge in our industry. Huge.
Right. Because it's your reputation. And if you say you can deliver, then all the non-technical people are just like, they got it, they got it, they got it. And then you go and you fail. And it's just like, oh man, you hurt all those people that
Mhm.
stood behind you. And that's never fun.
No, it's not, which is why it's so critical to be so like very upfront and very transparent with somebody that's going to be a potential client, and really helping them understand the scope of a project. Because a lot of times when people come to you with a project, they may not be technically, inclined to make decisions on things. And so it's, your job as somebody who is technically proficient to walk them through what it takes, even if you're not going to be the person doing the work. I still think like when people come to me with questions, I'm always willing to help them and to give them guidance and point them in the right direction, because it sucks when you don't know something and you just keep banging on doors and nobody can really help you and you're not even asking the right questions.
I fully agree with that. That's not a good thing. When I'm looking at your Instagram, a little bit distracted because I'm looking at the Instagram and your Instagram, and I'm seeing like build armor, and that's like, I want to know more about that.
The build armor.
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks like you were giving a talk to somebody, and like I'm like looking at you here. It's like you're like a female Gary V programmer. Like you guys got motivational posts and stuff like that as well. You and
Oh
your
yeah, for
husband.
sure. Yeah. Yep, I'm all about motivating people. And the armor post, so I did the keynote at a Google developers conference in Central Florida a few months
Mm-hmm.
ago. And then I got asked to go to Dallas and do the same thing. And I gave a talk of kind of about, it was like bringing your, it's like, what did I call it? How to launch staging into production, which is like a technical thing. And it's about like bringing your side hustle, like your side hustle into your full-time job. And the armor part was when you're told no, or you fail interviews, or you fail a class. Because I failed my first programming class in
Mm-hmm.
school. And I failed a Microsoft job interview. Like all these sorts of things, instead of using them and being defeated and feeling like a failure, you have to use them to build armor, because it's just setting you up to be better next time. Because every time you fail, you learn something, or you should. You're like, when I failed in school, I realized that I need to be more diligent with my time and be very intentional about the stuff that I'm learning and the questions that I'm asking. When I failed my Microsoft interview, I realized that um, confidence isn't everything. And you really need to like fully, if you're going in and presenting yourself as an expert, you better be an expert type thing. And after that interview, it was 5 hours, and it was with some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And at first, I felt super defeated that I didn't get the job. But then I realized, after talking with them, the stuff that I needed to work on. And I wrote it down, and I was like, okay, so if I ever do want to go and apply again, or even meet with them, these are the things that I need to do. So it's about,
Right.
building armor and just taking every failure for taking it for what it is, and then learning from it, and just making sure that you don't dwell too much on it, and find the positive in it. Is kind of just what it's about. Because everybody fails. We fail all the time. Like, we fail on a daily basis, especially in programming. You kind of just have to just take it
Yeah,
and
well,
keep going.
it's not called green repeat. It's called red green repeat. Refactor. Right? So you were talking a little bit in your talk about from staging to production. You caught my ear there. Um, what did you talk about in regards to that? I want to hear your thoughts on deploying from staging into production.
Oh, like actual staging to the production deploys?
Well, I'm sorry. Is that what you said your talk was about? Which I had not.
No, that was just an analogy. We could
Oh,
talk about
okay.
staging to production, but
Oh, no, no. I was just like, what, did she have some awesome story about like failing staging to production? Because that's definitely a spot where failure is going to happen.
oh, I have a funny story. I had one of my first big projects. I was a lead and only developer on it. Um, and this was like right when I started this job. It was my first job as a developer. And I deleted the entire production database. And I did,
Ooh.
oh yeah, I just looked at my computer in like utter disbelief that I did it. And I like went to my mentor, and she was just like, it's okay. Like, this happens to everybody. And she's like,
Nope.
just, yeah, retrace what you did. And then like I was able to restore it, thank goodness. But for that like 5 minutes, I thought I was just burning up, you know.
What sort of infrastructure were you on? Were you on like AWS directly or like a Heroku, or do you remember?
AWS. And
Yeah.
luckily with all that sort of stuff, you have it saves it, periodically. And so
Yeah.
you can easily just restore a backup.
Are you on
And is
and
it
oh, sorry. Are you on the Snapchats? I call it the Snapchat.
I used to be really big on Snapchat, but I'm on it. It's Miss Brandy Morgan.
Are you more towards 20 or more towards 30?
I'm right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, for context, I'm 30, so we're close.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing a lot of people talk about Snapchat and its growth, and they're all saying, if you're a brand, you got to be on Snapchat. And so I downloaded Snapchat and started using it with my wife because we have a little 4-month-old baby, and so
Oh, nice.
we're snapping each other left and right, and there's like one or two other people that are close family friends or like family and friends of mine, and I'll snap with them like rarely, but I don't get Snapchat in the sense that like how brands are using it, and since you're going into growth and Snapchat, I think as better than me maybe. How do you leverage Snapchat like to find people
Snapchat's,
you don't know? Because I think it's just for people you
yeah,
know.
not necessarily. So what's really cool, so if you have a brand, and this is something that I've done, that I've grown my user base on Snapchat. I used to actually have like over 1,000 people watching my Snapchats on a daily basis, but I switched my name. Like I deleted that account and switched it, which is kind of dumb, but is what it is. But what you can do on Snapchat is, push out your Snap code, like on Instagram, Twitter. If you have a Facebook page, and tell people to follow you. And even if they don't follow, like if that doesn't get them, you can do like a promotion type thing, like a giveaway, and say, hey, go follow me on Snapchat, go like my Facebook, go like my last Instagram post, and then you'll be in a chance to get a giveaway. And that sort of gets you more followers on all of your accounts. And with Snapchat, you can have people do takeovers. So like
Ooh,
if
what's
like for
that?
you, you have a modern CTO brand, which is great, which was something that you could actually do, is have a CTO take over your Snapchat channel. You just give them the login credentials, and you can change them after they're done using it.
Right.
But then they log in for 24 hours, they take over your Snapchat channel, or for however many hours, and it's like a day in the life of a modern CTO.
What?
And then what happens with that is all of their followers are then going to come to your channel because that person's taking over your channel.
That's interesting.
So there's a little marketing tip for you to use.
Yeah. That no, that's wonderful because I was trying to figure that out. Like, how are they using Snapchat when I just am sending pictures to my wife like back and forth?
Hmm. I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously, like you can do that, but I mean, for brands out there, and this is something that I've helped companies with, is if you're like a product and you are targeting a certain demographic, you need to find those influencers in that demographic and get them on your whatever platform it is, Instagram, Snapchat. Promote them, have them take over your channel, because everybody loves talking about themselves, and everybody loves showing people what they're doing for the most part, especially the
Right.
younger generation. We're like a me generation. So when you offer somebody, hey, you want to take over my channel for the day, I guarantee people would say yes. And it's interesting to watch, because then you promote that on your channels, they're promoting it on their channels. Um, and that would actually be pretty cool, because you would actually be looking at a modern CTO in the day and life of what they're doing.
Right. And that's what we do. It's actually really cool. If you're
Mhm.
geeky and nerdy and you like that stuff.
Oh, and there is. I mean, look at the statistics on Instagram of like, how big like the developer like influencers are reaching. It's crazy the numbers of people that are out there that are actually like utilizing these platforms, that are in the tech industry.
Oh man, is that a Wonder Woman outfit on your Instagram? Was that one? I see. It's like I'm just scrolling through your post while you're talking, and I from October 30th, 2014. Now I think I'm a creep, but there's like
It's
a and yeah,
American Dream.
it's
Nope.
American Dream.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know. Oh,
We're
just look at the
close.
hashtag. Here's why I asked. My wife and my little baby were Wonder Woman for Christmas, or for
Oh,
Christmas,
that's awesome.
for Halloween. So we had them walking around. It was like the mom and then the mini version of her. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I love the. I thought it was your boyfriend, but it's your husband. I love that you and your husband are. You know, do you do both do the motivational thing? You both write code. Have you ever worked on a project together? Written code on a project together?
Yeah. So we just got married this past October.
Oh, nice.
Um, and we worked, so when I worked at an agency, and then I was like in love with doing React Native and doing mobile type stuff. And he was working at a startup. And so I actually got hired by that same startup to build their mobile application. And he was the one that built their web app with their CTO. And
Very
so
neat.
so we worked together for like a little over a month, and it was absolutely a blast building stuff. And we actually, before that, we worked on a game together. So yeah, we dabble in stuff like that together. We probably will in the future for like tools and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
Has he ever rejected a pull request from you? And was it
Oh
awkward?
yeah, no, not at all. If a pull request gets approved for the first time for me, it's like a miracle. There's usually
Aw.
something. Because I mean, you think about it, you're doing a pull request for, well, in my experience, they're pretty large tickets. So you're touching so many different files and probably multiple applications. And so if I did get it right on the first try, I think it happened once actually. I would be surprised because I'm very, the problem with me is I'm very quick. Like I like to do things very, very, very fast.
Yeah,
Um,
patience isn't.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm
in your
working on
downfall.
patience and like attention to detail.
Well, it's hard with the patience when you get the Jay-Z hustle, right? Because it's just like,
I know.
I'm on top of the world, best rapper alive, and then it's just like, hold on a second, let's see if Code Climate says you're the best.
Exactly.
Circle CI
well,
says you fail, but
well, Josh was telling me, like, he puts it in a good analogy. He says there's like two types of programmers. They're the architects, and then there's the executors. And I'm definitely an executor, and he's more of an architect. So,
how much experience does he have in writing code?
way more than me, I
Way more than
guess.
you. Has he been doing
He's
it since he was like 13 or?
he's been doing it for a long time. I think he
Yeah.
started when he was like six, actually maybe younger than that. He started in the .NET framework. His dad has been programming for like 25, 30 years in the .NET framework.
Mm.
So it kind of just runs in the family.
Yeah, that's
That's
how I
the right
learned.
code.
I learned from
Yeah.
my dad would take me to work with him.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, and
I
he'd teach
wish
me to
that would
write code.
happen.
Yeah, there wasn't even like really internet at the time.
Yeah.
Which is it's so amazing because even though we're 5 years apart, the technology difference of 5 years is massive, right? Because we didn't have like cell phones until the year I graduated high school,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So
Yeah.
so no one had phones in school, but that 5 year difference is really big when it comes to technology, right?
Because I had a phone when like I was in middle school.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting what 5 years will do. When you're posting your uh Instagram post, right? And that's
Mhm.
clearly where you're the most active, right? Over Snapchat, you find that Instagram has your place. That's like your
Yeah.
hangout
It's
place.
just, yeah.
Now, what's the age of your audience? And what's like what does your audience look like?
Let me pull up my analytics.
And I'll tell
My
you,
audience,
I was really
what?
interested because I had another show right after Coding Blonde, but I had flipped
Mhm.
open the live stream for a minute or two and I saw some like guys being tools and I was like, oh, not cool. And I was like, that must suck for them. I guess they just ignore that, right? And then and so I was just kind of curious about what the makeup of your audience is. Is it 13-year-old females that want to be programmers? Is it like
I
50?
wish.
Well,
No, my audience is actually 77% men.
yeah, that'll happen.
Yep.
In the United, does it tell you about location?
Yep. United States, then it goes India, Brazil, Turkey, Mexico.
That's so interesting. That's my audience too.
Yeah.
That's really how it goes. If you look at who listens to the podcast and stuff, that's about how it goes. Brazil's really always number two now, and then we get some Singapore in there too. Sometimes they bump up to number two,
Oh,
but
interesting.
yeah. Now, when you're planning your content, do you plan? Or are you just like, oh, it's 2 p.m. Let's do an Instagram post?
No, I plan it for the most part. Lately I've been like I used to post a lot more, and then I sort of slowed down a little bit to make it a little more meaningful. It just depends. So, and yeah, I kind of go in spurts, but it's always planned. It's never like, oh, spur of the moment, I'm going to post something. It's usually pretty
Really?
planned out. Yeah.
Can I overstep my bounds? Can I submit some content request?
Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would like, so the heuristics that I learned as I got more involved, like more mature in programming,
Hmm.
started reading people like Martin Fowler and Sandy Metz and stuff like that. I wish I would have known those things kind of existed before. And so I would like to see influencers using their influence to create better programmers by making the habits that better programmers have attractive. So, for example, like test or sexy, right? Because like nobody likes writing tests. It's like taking your
Oh.
vitamins. Like
Hmm.
I would like to see positivity around the more difficult skills that the better programmers have, so that the younger programmers kind of like see that and look up to him and be like, oh man, this person's writing tests, this person's not writing tests. And now we see Miss Brandy Morgan talk about writing tests. All right, I guess this is the moment, this is the time I'm going to start really getting into this.
No, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. We were actually just looking for, at the last company I was at, um, somebody that just literally was a QA engineer that just wrote tests, because
Yeah.
that's so hard to find.
Well, yep, I'll show you some of the rocks to look under.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, engineers that are just writing tests, that's like usually they're going and doing it to like an application that didn't have tests. You'll have a big overhead to go apply tests to the legacy or the older code. But yeah, so the sort of the heuristics about, and that's just a fancy word for like a way of doing things. But I'll send over like a list of them, maybe like 6 or 7 things that would be really really good to promote, because I'm always finding that in the developers that are coming to look for jobs, that I'm the one letting them know that these things exist. And I'm like trying to hire for some of these skills, and they're not. It's not like a specific skill per se, like knowing a language or knowing how to use a library or whatever. It's more of like an abstract concept of how to like structure your code in general. Like the dry, the don't repeat yourself. Like the
Hmm.
dry principle would be a good one to do. And I'm just going off
I
top of my
love that. Yes, that's something so useful. I learned that from my old CTO.
right. And wouldn't that be great for you to be like promoting in your channel so that these other programmers
There's
that
like
you're influencing?
and some of that stuff you don't even think about. I would love it if you would send me a list of that, actually. That's
I
brilliant.
will, because I
Do.
was like, I'm gonna, we have Coding Blonde, we have Steph, and we have a couple other of the influencers on the show. And I was like, I love these pictures. I love seeing the code. It's very artistic. Instagram's artistic. I just want to see like, on the screen, like talk about dry, like, you put in the Word doc, you know, dry principles or something, like, oh, it'd make me so happy,
I
you
will do
know?
it just for you.
Oh yeah. You know what? Brandy Morgan, we are changing the world.
I know. We're gonna make better programmers.
Yeah, because I sit here and I say, oh, I learned how to test from Sandy Metz. She's a female programmer that talks about bicycles a lot. And and I learned how to really get into testing when I read her stuff, because it was really logical. And you don't have to be the one to write the book on testing. You just have to be the one to say, go read Sandy Metz's book. Right?
Yeah. Just spark the idea.
Yeah. Have you ever had any really nasty projects that you had to rewrite, or most of the stuff that you did were things that you started fresh?
Stuff that I've had to rewrite.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a project with another developer. He was a senior level, and I was a junior at the time. And it was a new framework. I hadn't used it before. The deadline was it was insane. It was like we had to build like 3 different apps in 8 weeks, I think it was. And these were
Wow.
not like little apps. These were big apps. It was for a very big, large company. And I've actually done pictures of it on my Instagram. But yeah, there was like I was in charge of building out this quiz portion
Hmm.
of the thing, and um, not taking the time to read the docs as carefully as I needed to for the framework. Um, I didn't understand that you could apply this like React principles of like being very modular with
Mm,
writing out these different components. And so I did have to go back and like rewrite the whole thing and made it like super modular based on like his assessment of my code,
right.
which sucked. But in the end, I was actually so happy and I was so excited that he showed that to me. And I felt like I just, I don't even, like I learned something so important and I was so ecstatic about it. But yeah, that was kind of like, that was probably the biggest thing I can remember because it took, because yeah, we were working until like 2, 3 in the morning most nights on that project.
You get
But
the team,
yeah,
all the team together, drinking caffeine and whatnot.
we did. We actually would stay. It was so funny. We stayed at the the office until about 4 a.m. And then they were flying me. I had to fly to New York City um, that next day for the application to be like their on-site tech
Oh
lead
wow.
for it. And that was pressure because then I'm dealing with all these executives that do not understand programming or really anything tech related. And so that was having to make changes to the app while the app is in the hands of the users and pushing
Yep.
live. And it was that was probably one of the most stress. I loved it though. I like high pressure situations, but it was very high pressure. It was a lot of fun though. But yeah.
I had flown out with this company where I was the lead on the project, and I was out in San Francisco. They were at a conference debuting the product, and we're sitting there having dinner the night before, and
Hmm.
they just decided, oh, well, this one client's coming by the booth, and we have to have this very specific feature done for him. He's going to be there at 10 a.m. and it's what 11 p.m. at night, and we're all having drinks and stuff. They're like, Joel, you can whip that out really quick at like 9, right? And I'm like, I just like my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. It's like 6-8 hours of work. This feature that I'm hearing about right now that needs to be done tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. First time hearing about it. Uh, but I ended up just staying up the whole night in the hotel lobby and writing the code. It was it's amazing. But we got it done, and they were very, very pleased. And I slept and did not attend the conference.
Oh no.
Yeah,
But it's like moments like that they feel so good when you're done. You feel so accomplished.
I did. They went and bought. This is right, like the month the iPad came out, and they went down the street and bought me an iPad and came in and knocked on my door with some hotel room service at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon and an iPad, and they're just like, here we go. Thanks for staying up all night and taking care of that for us. And they got the client. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I like that. That's a
yeah.
great story.
Oh yeah, I am no stranger to like having to deal with last minute business needs that somebody is just like, "Oh, you're so good at what you do, Joel. That should just take you an hour." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Thanks.
You're like, yep.
Why don't you come show me exactly how I can do it in an hour? That would be very helpful." All right, so with the influence, you have the influence. Brandy Morgan has the power on Instagram. You're focusing there instead of Snapchat. You're changing the world with your positivity. You and both Josh, who sounds like an excellent human, right?
He's wonderful.
Yeah, and you guys have your new business, and you picked up your previous employer as a client, which is honestly super fantastic. I'm very proud of that move. I love how you guys show love to everybody, and that's kind of like your motto for how you run your business because it will matter in 20 years, right? It
Yep.
matters today, but it will really matter in 20 years because I'll be like, oh yeah, Brandy Morgan, she was on my show like 20 years ago. She's totally Jay-Z baller status, right?
Exactly. It's like, yeah. I always say it'll be fun to see like where we're at in our business in even the next 2 years.
Yeah. And are you headquartered?
Yeah.
So do you have a physical location or are you guys all remote in Orlando?
At the moment, we are all remote. We have three of us here in Orlando, one in Dallas, um, but we're probably going to get office, like just like co-working space,
Yeah.
somewhere here. And as we grow, we would just set up different like co-working spaces in whichever cities we needed to. But for right now,
Nice.
we are kind of looking for a more remote culture. But that could really change because remote can be difficult, especially in the early days when you're trying to really get that like camaraderie around a team and around an effort.
I agree. It's also remote gets better as you pay a lot more, right? So the remote
Yeah,
people that you're paying like serious dollars to, uh, they are a lot more stable and consistent than when you're trying to, get started on a lean budget like any business should be doing, right?
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
well, I hope that we run into each other at a conference one of these days. We'll see each other, high five, talk some
Yeah,
programming, or
yeah,
talk
for
some.
sure.
We'll talk some motivation and management. That's what we'll
Yes,
do.
let's do it. I
You
like
seem
it.
like you're gonna kill it. You're gonna be like the Tony Robbins of pumping up people for programming, and I love it.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and I want to hear a growth talk. After you go through this experience, figuring out what to do, you got to put together a talk for growth, and then go tour it around at the Google keynotes and stuff.
Yeah, that's actually something I have on the list of things I want to do once I have the strategy in place and implemented. I'll give a talk on it.
Nice. Well, if you ever need anything, like anything at all, we're here for you. Just call me up, be
Awesome,
like,
Otis.
"Yo, Joel, we need some help." I'm like, "Anything you need."
Awesome. I might have to do that.
Yeah. And just any tips you got for the we have a big audience of CTOs. We don't have
Hmm.
a big audience on Instagram. So
Gotcha.
yeah, we have 70,000 active listeners that are CTOs and lead developers, and we have 100 followers on Instagram. I'm like, I don't know. I think they're on there. Like, I'm on Instagram, but like my personal account is just me posting pictures of my daughter and my wife tagging me like incessantly, like all the time. She's kind of like our manager of our Instagram. I look at Instagram on my personal account for like my family stuff. And I
Hmm.
was poking around for CTOs, and I'm talking to all these CTOs, and they're like, yeah, we're not trying to do like CTO stuff on Instagram. We're just trying to like our cousins' photos and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll reach the
Yeah.
younger generation.
Yeah, it can be. I had a similar conversation with um, some developer advocates about their use of Instagram and how they can really utilize it to reach the younger group of people because that's really who we should be targeting because they're the future of like what platform are going to be used and stuff like that.
Fully agree. The children are
Hmm.
our future. Who sang that? Whitney Houston. I believe the children. Who was that?
I
Jake,
have
you
no
don't know?
idea.
Yeah, you guys don't know. Jake's more into like heavy metal. I'm gonna send you that link afterwards. You're gonna laugh. It's a hilarious song. Well, thank you so much
Sounds
for your
good.
time.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. This is fun.
We there we go. So when we were recording, it was just storing to